my dear friends, and hello, my dear listeners. How are you all? I hope you are doing well as per your own circumstances and your limits. And I pray for all of us that we must excel in the realization of this life, of our this existence. So let's dig into the next part of the chapter the chapter of our master's life. We are still reading the part, the God intoxicated stage of Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansa Dev's life, and we are in the fourth part for as on today. So let's start. Sri Ramakrishna passed through all these phases of devotion, realizing the same goal through everyone. His Dasya Sadhana, which we shall describe in detail, is particularly interesting in that through his endeavors to enact the role of Hanuman, he was blessed with the vision of Sita, the divine consort of Rama. It was shortly after his vision of Kali that his attention was directed to Rama, the king of Ayodhya, who is regarded as an incarnation of the Lord Himself. Convinced that the quickest way to realize Him would be to become thoroughly imbued with the spirit of his greatest devotee Hanuman, he took upon himself the task of reproducing as faithfully as possible Hanuman's attitude towards Rama, that of the faithful servant towards the master. The following are his own words about the process and results of this form of practice. By constant meditation on the glorious character of Hanuman, I totally forgot my own identity. My daily life and style of food came to resemble those of Hanuman. I did not feign them, they came naturally to me. I tied my cloth round the waist, letting a portion of it hang down in the form of a tail, and jumped from place to place instead of walking. I lived on fruits and roots only, and these I preferred to eat without peeling. I passed most of the time on trees, calling out in a Solomon voice, Raghuveer. My eyes looked restless, like those of a monkey, and most wonderful of all, my coccyx enlarged by about an inch. It gradually resumed its former size after that phase of the mind had passed on the completion of that course of discipline. In short, everything about me was more like a monkey than a human being. At the end of this sadhana, he had a wonderful vision, so exceedingly vivid and so different from any of his previous ones that it remained long in his memory. Referring to it, the master said, "One day I was seated in the place now known as Panchavati in quite a normal state of mind, not at all entranced when all of a sudden a luminous female figure of exquisite grace appeared before me. The place was illuminated with her lustre. I perceived not her alone, but also the trees, the Ganges, and everything. I observed that it was a human figure, being without such divine characteristics as three eyes and so on, but such a sublime countenance, expressive of love, sorrow, compassion, and fortitude, is not commonly met with even in goddesses. Slowly, she advanced from the north towards me, looking graciously on me all the while. I was amazed and was wondering who she might be when a monkey with a cry suddenly jumped at and sat by her. Then the idea flashed within me that this must be Sita, whose whole life had been centered in Rama and who had misery only as her lot. In an excess of emotion, I was about to fall at her feet, crying, "Mother, when she entered into my body with the significant remark that the smile on her lips she bequeathed unto me, I fell unconscious on the ground, overpowered with emotion. This was the first vision I had with eyes wide open, without meditation on anything. Is it because my first vision of Sita was of her grief stricken aspect that my subsequent life contained so much suffering? Who knows? The secret of his success in these diverse sadhanas, it must be remembered that it takes the ordinary person many lives to achieve the goal of even one form of sadhana, was in one word sincerity, a complete correspondence between thought and action, an entire absence of duplicity. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that for success in any pursuit, one must live exactly up to one's ideal. As we proceed further, we shall see how he carried it out in his own life. In the foregoing pages, we have narrated certain events in the life of Sri Ramakrishna which may seem impossible or supernatural, so difficult are they of explanation from the standpoint of reason or science, but they cannot be as lightly dismissed as that. All saints and sages of every age and clime claim to have had experiences inexplicable by reason, and up to the present at least by science. At the same time, none of them had said that his visions or extraordinary powers were beyond nature or the reach of the rest of the mankind. On the contrary, all have invited the rest of the world to taste these experiences by experiment along the same lines to demonstrate for themselves that they are as much within the realm of nature as any of the phenomena of physical science. The only difference is in the degree of subtlety. Physical science deals with the comparatively gross manifestations of nature, while religion, which is philosophy made practical, deals with its finer forms. If after patience and sincere research these transcendental experiences are found to be untrue, then alone have the right to reject them and the authority to pronounce them delusions been own. Here we would like to emphasize the fact that these visions are not in any way necessary for religious progress, nor are they the sine qua non of divine realization. The highest spiritual experiences may and often do come unattended by them. At best, they are but milestones on the path of religious progress of importance in proportion as they make a man purer, stronger, more loving, and more self sacrificing. The right vision is that which transforms a fool into a sage, where contrary results are produced, we have only delusion. We have seen that Rani Rasmani was attracted to Sri Ramakrishna, convinced that he had been blessed with the vision of the Divine Mother. She felt that his strange behavior bespoke the fullness of devotion rather than any mental derangement. One day she came to Dakshineshwar and, after bathing in the Ganges, entered the temple to worship and meditate. She took a seat near the Divine Mother. Sri Ramakrishna was there, and the Rani, according to her usual custom, requested him to sing. Sri Ramakrishna agreed and filled the place with the ecstasy of his songs. After a time, noticing that the Rani was inattentive, he exclaimed, "That anxiety even here!" and slapped her twice. The temple servants were confounded but none dared to punish the offender. The only two people who were calm were Sri Ramakrishna and Rani Rashmani. His attitude was that of a father chastising an indiscreet child, while the Rani was abashed as if caught in some naughtiness. She was amazed to find that the young priest had the power to perceive that her mind was preoccupied with a pending lawsuit rather than with the songs of devotion. Realizing the gravity of the situation and apprehensive that the temple staff might assume the right of punishing Sri Ramakrishna, she gravely forbade them to ever mention the incident to him. Rashmani retired to her room. When her attendants complained of Sri Ramakrishna's insolence towards her, she answered, "You do not understand it. The Divine Mother herself punished me and thus illumined my heart." There is a great deal of significance in the above incident. It shows that Sri Ramakrishna considered himself only a tool in the hands of the Divine Mother. Had he had any other idea, he would not have dared to run the risk of jeopardizing his position in the temple by insulting the Rani. It also throws a flood of light on the Rani's mentality, allowing us to see the deep spiritual vein in her nature which made her recognize the justice of the rebuke and accept it cheerfully. One day, about this time, Sri Ramakrishna, in the presence of Mathur, met Hriday, his substitute, saying that the Divine Mother would be as well pleased if thenceforth Hriday conducted the worship. Mathur took this to be as the will of the mother and agreed it cheerfully. We have already mentioned the Panchavati, the place where Sri Ramakrishna used to meditate. There was a small tank nearby, which was soon after re excavated, and the surplus earth was utilized in filling up the pits about this place. The Amlaka tree was sacrificed to this change. One day, Sri Ramakrishna proposed to Hriday to build a suitable place for his spiritual practices. Hriday agreed and chose a spot near the master's old place of sadhana, where the latter himself planted an aswatha tree and Hriday planted four others. Then a hedge of tulsi and aparajita plants was started, which soon grew thick and tall enough to hide the place from the view of passers-by. One day, some cattle destroyed the hedge and injured the young plants. This made Sri Ramakrishna anxious to protect it against further attacks. It is said that soon after a strong flood tide in the Ganges brought to the bank near the temple a bundle of wooden posts with rope, a billhook, and everything necessary for a fence. So, my dear friends, today I am going to rest this reading till this point. But from this point of view, we came to know that if we let divine play the part, maybe we suffer, maybe we still suffer, but still it will feel our mind with such a auspicious joy that that suffering maybe get diluted by the intervention of that divine almighty. So let's hope for the best. We will meet again so tomorrow. So till then, be happy, keep listening, and have faith on yourself as well as on the almighty. So with this thought, I am bidding you goodbye. Tata.